Hey there, Lisa here. Welcome to my channel. I hope you'll join me in my love of crafting and DIYs and hit that subscribe button. This video is part of the seasonal holiday tissue paper tour, which is hosted by myself and Karen over at the Loft Home Decor. So be sure to join us in April, July, and October. We did a mystery exchange. So tissue paper we drew names and it was exchanged. And I received my tissue paper from Jackie at Mamma Mia DIYs. And I sent my tissue paper to Lorraine at Lolly D's Creations. So be sure to check out all three of those lovely ladies in the description box below. All right, let's go back to when I got my tissue paper. My tissue paper is here and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to open it. So it is mid-November and this video is not going to happen until January 1, but I got my tissue paper early because we're doing it early because of the holidays, and I can't wait to see it and make plans for what I'm going to make. All right, so let's get it open. My package comes from Jackie at Mamma Mia DIYs. Her and I have sent to each other several times with the napkin exchange. I sent to her and then she sent to me, or vice versa, and now this. So it's just so fun. So thank you, Jackie. I can't wait to see what you sent me. This is always like the longest amount of time when you're opening the package. Oh my goodness, I have never seen this stuff. Aren't these pretty? Oh my goodness. These are gorgeous, Jackie. Where did you get these? Such beautiful. Oh, these are going to be so pretty for spring. Oh, these are pretty, Jackie. Oh, and you totally spoiled me. Oh, these are beautiful. Oh, Jackie, thank you. Oh my goodness, look at all these gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Ooh, Valentines. Oh, this is going to be so fun. Ooh, oh, you guys, I'm thinking of all the pretty things I can do with these. So I'm super excited and I can't wait to start crafting. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so, so much. So I completely missed this when I opened the tissue paper. So here goes. What a sweet little card. Makes me miss spring. Hello, Lisa. I can't wait to see what you make. I hope you like what I sent. Your friend, Jackie, aka Mamma Mia DIY. I do love it and thank you for the extras. And I can't wait to see what I'm going to make later. Thanks so much, Jackie. I finally found one of these palette hearts after season last year, and so I am excited to get to use it. I just took some white acrylic paint and just covered it. And as you see, I do the pieces holding it together and the sides as well. And then once that had dried, I take Mod Podge and give it a good thick coat of Mod Podge all the way around. And apparently I did not give it a thick enough coat because I do have some problems with sticking. It could just be that the size of my iron is too small for this bigger project. So I take this gorgeous tissue paper I got and I give it a little bit of an ironing with some parchment paper over the top. And then I take, and once the Mod Podge had dried on my heart, I take and with parchment paper I iron the tissue paper down, and this activates the glue and it sticks it down. Now I would recommend going from the middle out, and I did not do that on this one, and I had some edges that did not adhere well. So once I get done doing that, I trim around the edges and then I take a razor blade and trim along here. In hindsight, I think I probably would have taken the pieces off the back and do it that way. You could get nicer edges. And then I sand down what I can, and so I'm just sanding it a downward motion the best that I can to get that tissue paper flush on the edges there. It was a little bit tricky with the braces across the middle. And then I take, and I had some edges that came up. Again, I think go from middle to edges. And if you watch me, when I ironed this, I did the opposite. And so I had a lot of edge pieces that did not adhere down. So I am just adding more Mod Podge and then laying those pieces down, and I do that in several areas. I also go across where the braces meet, in the areas that I trimmed instead of sanded, just to make sure that those cut pieces are adhered down well as well. And then I do give it one last iron just to make sure that those pieces that I just Mod Podged down are good and stuck, again, once it had dried. Then I take and punch the holes through, and I'm going to, so I just punch them through with a hole punch, and then I take and iron that down just to sort of, I don't know, I felt like the tissue paper would adhere better down where I had poked it, and it did help. And then I take this baker's twine and I have it in two different colors, sort of a burgundy and then a pink. And so I take two of the burgundy and one of the pink and get those all three together and trim to the size I want. And then I tie a knot, and I think I end up tying like 3 knots like over top of each other so that it's larger because I want to see the knots. And then I string it back through the other side so that I can tie a knot on the front. And so then once I get it through there, then I do the same thing and tie a double knot. And then I just trim the ends off. All right, so I was real undecided what else to do with this, but this is what I end up doing. So I take this square dowel and I have this little mini saw, and I take and saw some pieces so that I can use them to raise little love wooden cutout up. And so I saw 4 pieces. I didn't really have much room to do any more than that, so I just fit them where I can and just enough across so that it will sit up off the palette. Then with some hot glue, I take and I glue them down. See, that one's really, really tiny, but I was able to get it. So I just wanted one sort of on each letter. So then I do the O and the V and then finally the L. I had previously added antique wax to this and then was trying some different colors, and I decided to go with this really, really light pink. And I do front, back, and sides because I wanted any angle that you were looking at it for you to be able to see pink and no bare wood. And then once it's painted and dried, I do take a nail file and just sand it and distress it a little bit extra around the edges. I didn't do a ton of distressing. It's a little bit. I just wanted a little bit of that dark antique to show through. Using hot glue, I attach the love to the palette heart. And then I take some florals. I got a whole garbage bag of these plastic florals for like pennies. And so I have been trying to find ways to use them. And the colors just really went with this tissue paper. So I decided to add those under the love, partly because I got the love a little bit higher than I wanted it, and just to make it look a little bit more centered. But I think it ends up turning out pretty. Here's a quick peek at it, and I will show you more at the end of the video. I couldn't decide if this tissue paper said New Year's or snowflakes to me. So we're going with snowflakes. So I apparently have some lost video. But what I did was I took and I traced around it with a pin, and then I added a layer of white paint. Once that had dried, then I did Mod Podge and let that dry. And then I took the tissue paper and laid it down just like I had done on the other projects. And then I just trim around the edges. And then finally I take a nail file just to sand them down flush. And then once I get it all sanded flush, I had a little bit of white paint on the back from when I painted it white. So I went ahead and sanded that off because I'm going to use antique wax on this side. And I gave the back side of the tree a coat with a baby wipe. I took these little half rounds, half beads, I call them, although they're technically not beads because they don't have holes. Anyways, whatever they're called, I take these and I decide where I wanted them, and then I do that number, and I just take and give them all a coat of the same white that I had given the tree. And then once they had dried, I take and place them on the tree the way that I had pre-planned. And once I get them all set out and done, I take some super glue, and this is the Loctite gel glue. It's my favorite. I mention them in almost every video. And then I took and started to go around the edges the same way. However, the moisture from the baby wipe was making my tissue paper start to peel up. And so I decided that maybe this was not the best route. But while I had the baby wipe out, I went ahead and did this stand. It is actually a lid to a box that I had gotten that I'm going to use to organize some craft supplies. And so I was like, what am I going to do with this lid? It'd make a cute sign. And then I decided that it would make a great stand for this tree. So I gave it a coat of the antique wax with the baby wipe as well. And then I got out a brush just to go in between the slats here. And I do a thick coat of that and then wipe it down with a baby wipe as well, just so that they were covered. And with a small brush, I take antique wax, and my initial plan was to just go around the edges of these, or like the base of these, but I end up deciding that I like it more when it goes across the top as well, and so I quickly decide that this is too small of a brush. So I get a larger chippy brush and just start really heavily distressing the edges as well as the buttons. And then if I get too much on the buttons, then I just take my baby wipe and wipe a little bit off. And then I go all the way around the tree, all the way around the edges. I do all of the buttons, and then I do some light distressing across the entire front as well. On the other side, I take some white paint, just some white acrylic paint, and do the same process. I actually end up using the same brush and just add a little bit of white around the edges, and then I distress across the center as well. And those of you that are really great at distressing, I would love to hear your techniques or see them done. I feel like I always end up too heavy-handed, and I feel like I struggle with this. I love the look of it, but I feel like sometimes it just doesn't look very natural, and I sort of struggle with it. So any tips y'all have, I would be happy to hear. I take and do the same thing with the white paint that I had done to the tree on the base as well. So since I had gotten heavy-handed with the white, now I'm going back with some more antique wax just to cover up some of it, give it another color. And with the hot glue gun, I add a strip of hot glue right in the center slot there, pretty good and thick. And then I push just a little bit of the stump down inside. And then I sort of smooth it out on the bottom once it had cooled a little bit, just so that I was sure that it was good and adhered. And then I glue on the stars, which I end up taking off and changing because it just looked too Christmassy to me. So I take these large snowflakes, and with a paper towel, I antique both sides. And then I take these little teeny snowflakes, and I use this metallic marker from the Dollar Tree to give them a white color. And I actually made earrings out of these. I just poked holes and put some earring hooks in them, and I wore them this season. They were super cute. Anyhow, I digress. So once I get that done, then I take and distress the outside of the antiqued snowflakes with a little bit of white. And then I take some super glue and I glue the small snowflake to the large snowflake. And then with hot glue, I glue them to the top of my tree. And I feel like I like the snowflakes much better. I feel like it says winter a little bit more, whereas the stars said Christmas. Here's a peek. What do you think? See more in the final reveal at the end of the video. So I really had my heart set on doing a St. Patrick's in this video. And so this is maybe a stretch, and I could not find a Clover. They're not out at my Dollar Tree, and anything I had from last year is way too big. So I took these 3 heart cutouts that I have, and I am filling in the holes on 2 of the 3 of them with some nail hole filler. And then I send that down flush once it has dried. I take and I give all 3 of them a coat of white acrylic paint, the front and sides. Once that had dried, I took Mod Podge, and same basic process as the other 2 projects. We are going to do a good thick coat of Mod Podge, and then we are going to let it dry completely. And then I take this gorgeous tissue paper. This would be really pretty for Valentine's Day as well. Shabby chic. Ooh, it would be, yeah, it's just really pretty. So I take this, and my Mod Podge has dried, and so I take it and I'm trying to figure out where I want it on the hearts. So I'm trying to lay out my Clover and try to figure out where I want it. So once I finally decide how I'm going to place it on there, I place it down. I cover it with parchment paper and I use the iron. Now on this one I got smart and I would iron in the middle and then sort of iron out. And for some reason this just tends to work better to adhere those edges. I did not have as much problems with the edges not adhering on this one. And then I take and I cut the 3 hearts apart so that I can sand around the edges. And I did have to get out the X-Acto knife because I had them pretty close. So with scissors and an X-Acto knife, I cut it out. Then I give them each, once they're cut apart, I just feel like I can get better with the iron. So then I do go over and iron all 3 of them once again. Then, like with the others, I take a fingernail file in a downward motion. We're going to sand off the edges, and we're going to do this all the way around on all 3 of them. So I really wanted to add some more green to this project. So I took this cookie sheet from the Dollar Tree and I am going to lay these out and I attempt to cut a clover. So I trace around and I cut out a clover, and then it didn't work right. I didn't have the 3 hearts lined up correctly. I don't really know how better to explain that, but I didn't have them lined up correctly. So then when I went to put them, they were just wonky and crooked. So ignore this. I cut out the clover and then I quickly decide that it's got to be changed. And so basically what I end up doing is take the 1 heart that was the best shaped and I just cut 2 more out. And then I also cut out just a long triangle for the stem, and I actually end up changing this because it ends up being too short. And then I take 3 different colors of green paint and pour them in this tray. If you guys eat those balanced breaks ever, they make great paint trays. Just a little side. And so I put all 3 colors next to each other. And basically what I'm doing is I load all 3 on the brush and then sort of dab it out because I don't want it to be just one color of green. I want to be able to kind of see some of the flecks of the aluminum behind as well. So I just, in a dabby motion, I just cover the stem, which I later redo another one, and then just the edges of the heart because I'm going to be gluing the wood piece that I put the tissue paper on down in the middle. So we just need to do the edges. And so I do that for all 3 hearts. On the 1 heart that I left the hole, I go ahead and poke a hole like I had done with the palette. And then I take and I hot glue my hearts to my aluminum hearts. And the one that I'm going to hang the piece with, I go ahead and poke through the hole all the way through the aluminum side as well. And then I glue the other hearts to their aluminum counterparts. Once I have all my 3 hearts glued to the aluminum pieces, it's time to assemble my Clover. So I just assemble it with hot glue. Be careful because it does really heat up that aluminum. And I glued it down to my painting pad. And so it's not super steady here because I didn't leave enough room for gluing. I wasn't really thinking this through, but the stem really holds it together. So the 3 of them here are not real sturdy, but we are going to fix that. So then I glue the stem on and I decide that it is way too short. So I cut another and it's too short. So then I cut a third time really is a charm. And I take that one and give it a coat of the 3 colors of green. And then once it is dried, I take and I glue it on the back. And I did leave so that there was room to glue that down. And then I go around and glue the edges and just really give it a good dose of hot glue on the back just to hold everything and make it much sturdier. And I get a whole bunch of hot glue that globs out. And then when I peel it off, it takes the paint. So I do have to touch up that paint a little bit. And then I go around the back and glue all that down too, just to make it more secure. I should have used Mod Podge on the aluminum before I painted it. It probably would have helped the paint stick better. But this is just for me, and it was sort of an experiment. I just wanted to see what this aluminum would look like on the back and see if I could create something that resembled a clover. No matter how much paint I use, I just cannot get that area to look well. So I take this bow that came off something else from the Dollar Tree, and I just make it just a little bit smaller, and I trim the ends, and then I hot glue it down in the center. Final step in this one was I got pretty thick coat of paint on the stem, and you could see the flecks. I really wanted to see those aluminum flecks, so I do go over with a nail file and just kind of sand around the edges and the stem portion, just to make sure that you can see those silver flecks shining through. And that's it for this one. Here's a peek. Next we have the final reveal where you'll see all 3 projects. All right, here we go. Let's take a last look at all 3 projects. So first we've got the palette heart with the love. And this is not something I would normally do, but I really think it turned out very nice and very elegant. I'd love to know what you guys think. Drop me a comment. And then we have the tree, and I might be a little bit partial to this one. I'm not sure why. I just am. Maybe it's because it's kind of like could be like a centerpiece. Maybe it's because it's reversible. I'm not sure. I'm running out of places for things to hang. So the fact that it can sit on a counter is kind of nice. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you like a side? Should I have done them both the same? I'm not real sure. Anyways, let me know. And then finally we have my Clover, and I think that this turned out fun. I don't know if it's too big of a stretch to make these florals part of a Clover, but I kind of like the way it all came together. So I'd love to know what you think. And then just quickly, a couple different ways that things can be styled. I sure appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. If you have enjoyed it, I would love a thumbs up and a comment. If you are new here and like what you see, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button and came back for more. Again, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to see you again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.